Thank you very much for staying until this late hour in the hall. I think this tells a lot about the success of the conference. I saw conferences, like I think you said, with only 2 people remaining by the end. And it's the fact that it didn't happen, I think, testifies to the absolute success. And I was thrilled to listen to the most of the presentations, to all of the presentations. Inspiring, wise, deep, expert knowledge based. But I think the main thing is that I felt the heart in the hall. Everybody was ready to participate. Everybody was ready to go forward. As you said, Madam Bashkovskaite, to roll the sleeves up and go and work. So my speech will not be a long speech. I wouldn't dare to summarize all the fantastic and thrilling ideas that were presented here, but I think we have to face a fact that in spite of amazing crown of the jewels of ideas that were presented here, we are facing today the situation where the center of the spiritual life of Lithuanian Jews, or more than Lithuanian Jews, if you read Isaac Bashevis Singer, he mentions Yerushalayim Dalita, or the sacred learning in Lithuania as something exceptionally valuable. So I think it meant a lot to the whole Jewish world. So it was before. Now it's one of the ugliest yards in the city of Vilnius. And I'm not hesitating to say that. If you go there, it's shabby, it's not clean, it's those garbage boxes, it's chaotic parking lots, it's crammed with cars, and it's this board that commemorates the Grand Synagogue of Vilnius as an irony. You know, so I think at least we have no one who says here, let it be as it is. Let it live like this, okay? The past is the past. And, but we have many ideas what it will be in the future. So let's not finalize our decisions. Let's not say we know absolutely exactly what it should be there. But at least we have a point of departure, and we have the goodwill of all the participants. We have tremendous energy here. We have tremendous support, both from the inside of the community in Vilnius, in Lithuania, and all the people who came here from, my God, all the world, all around the world, from Israel, United States, Germany, you name it. When I was a Minister of Culture, I worked with Jewish heritage, but sadly enough, it was only Holocaust commemoration. It was, what should we do with Panar Memorial? Should we turn it in a more attractive place? Should we, install some multimedia there so it would be more interesting for tourists? That was not very inspiring, because we pay tribute to Panar tragedy and to Holocaust every year. It's there, and I think it testifies to the horrors that happened better than any kind of Disneylandish interpretation. What I loved in the presentations in this hall is the invitation to think about the future, at the same time ringing the bell about the past, saying it wasn't just Holocaust in Lithuania. It was thriving community with an amazing richness of pre-Holocaust life. Centuries of that. We are sort of silent about this. And I think our educational system still are very imperfect, covering just a little, very superficially. Vilnius people, they usually do not know history of Vilnius city that well, because they are coming from all over Lithuania, and they sort of think, as someone mentioned here, that the history of Lithuania ends in the times of Vytautas in the 15th century. I think Dr. Gelunas mentioned yesterday that we have this gap, enormous gap from the 15th century to the recreation or creating anew our state in the beginning of 1900s, in 1918. I think this is a grave mistake. Uh, I worked in UNESCO for 4 years. Our keyword was diversity. I love this word. I know it's not easy to live in diversity situation. It's much better to live with similar people with you who are saying what you want to hear, who speak your language, who nod head like you all now nodding head. Yeah, so it's easy to talk with alike people. No, sorry for the sarcasm, but I think it's diversity is not an easy challenge, and we see the revival of nationalism today in an enormous scale. Ambassador Pranskevičius knows that from Brussels experience and other experiences. This diversity that is adopted by the EU as such, and this convention on diversity is one of my favorite ones because it really invites to enjoy what we've been talking yesterday and today in a really, how to say, deep professional scale and enjoyment of all that. So I mentioned UNESCO. In UNESCO, usually after inspiring talks and gatherings like this, we would not let people leave the hall without signing a resolution. So it has to be all bureaucratic. Mr. Braverman said that let's go and do something, but this is not the way it works in Lithuania. It has to be bureaucratic, it has to be negotiations. I've been involved with building the Duke's Palace in Lithuania, and oh my God, my beard became white just because of that. Yeah, it was such a traumatic experience. And I believe the commemoration of the Grand Synagogue will be a traumatic experience again for many of us.
So maybe it will become black again, your beard.
I don't know if physiology would support such a view, but very much looking forward to that. So we put up some kind of resolution which is by no means perfect. It's just a blueprint. It mentions some historical facts of the past, and it mentions some things that we have to do before leaving this room. So the essential part, I don't know how to use this. Yeah. Yeah, the essential part is this three chapters, but the preamble emphasizing taking into account, inspired by, it's based on the documents, conventions, and already one resolution of the Parliament of the Republic of Lithuania, which is an old document, 2000, sort of a shameful fact because it's already 17 years old. And I hope that leaving this hall, we will be moving much, much faster, and we will achieve some tangible results. So those three chapters, they actually mention some very concrete steps. Many people in this hall said, let's pull down the school. And it sounds terrible, I know. It sounds, it's not an easy thing to do. But the mayor of Vilnius, speaking from the very place I'm speaking now, I think he mentioned that this Soviet construction on the very middle of the venue of Vilnius Great Synagogue has to go to a better place, because this dark yard with the Stalinist buildings around, I don't believe it's a dream of any school children in Lithuania. So I think the text of resolution was handed out to you beforehand, and I would very much look forward to the suggestions for the text. It doesn't have to be accepted as it is. We can make some changes. We would already like to change the paragraph 1. Sorry, I pressed some wrong. Yeah. instead of encouraging just the municipality of Vilnius, someone suggested encouraging also the state government. And doing this not symbolically, but actually starting negotiation for the process to take place as fast as it is possible. So, well, we can make corrections on the spot. Yeah, there are already comments, and yeah, should I pass the microphone, or could anyone be nice? Okay, so I see 3 speakers, 4? Yeah, 4, and you will be given a word in a row.
So I read it already earlier. I want to remark that I appreciate the cautious and intelligent approach that has been taken. I think that overall it is a fair draft because the decisions taken herein are actually expressions of a general will. We cannot be too concrete, of course. So overall, I think that it is fair. I think that in the second conclusion, let's call it, where you talk about to initiate the creation of an international commission, we may call it steering committee or otherwise, I think that the word content must be included. I think that one of the main tasks of this commission is not just generally to discuss and suggest the most appropriate solution for the memorialization, but also to refer to the future content that will be represented or functionally and actively being represented there in the future.
Because of my life. You start with a big international steering committee, you'll be dead forever. Start to 3-4 people that are committed with a guy that move, and then put around the committees. You'll start with committees, and this guy doesn't like this guy, and this and that this guy. Start with the focal point, who is the guy that will lead the project, how it will done, and then engage people. If you start putting big committees before, you are calling yourself later for many troubles. That's I'm saying that very openly now. I'm out of the European Commission. I was the last guy to represent Israel for the European Parliament.
So I think that Avishai's practical suggestion should be embraced, and we can say that the International Commission should comprise maximum of 5 people. No.
Yeah, you know, there cannot be just one pushy guy who goes to the government and says, remove the school, do the excavations.
No,
so the smaller the better, I could agree with that, but could you please allow me to announce one sensational news? Because just a few minutes ago, the remnants of the Grand Synagogue of Vilnius were inscribed on the cultural registry of Lithuania. So I think we could applaud them. So you said it's just a conference and blah, 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 but it's having practical impact, huh?
You have to choose in life what you involve. And for me, life, you go, you do, then you do something.
Yes.
So therefore, I'm not sure if this is among the things that I do in my life, and a very few now, that is the case. But I know the condition for success, like this distinguished lady said. The way for success is not big conferences after you start. It's 3-4 people, one that is leading, some people around them, and then they will engage. You have from the city, incredible guy. You'll go from the world, you get Nobel laureate, you get everything. And some of the people, 3 Jews, Litvak, bring them here. Not start talking about the Litva community, 3 people. If you come next year with something like that, you have a game, and then you have the Weizmann, you have Ben Gurion, you have Harvard. But somehow I like her approach, because that's the approach that worked for me. So everybody talking about his own experience.
So
But
you
maybe
are
another
both
way.
on this commission. Thank you.
From my experience, if my government wants to bury something, they appoint a committee.
We have this experience as well. I've been in the government. Thank you.
Just about two of the clauses within the document.
I think we had comments from, or questions. Yes. You started.
Okay.
Terribly
I'll
sorry.
continue. Okay.
Yes, it's second day of the conference.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, it's only a 2-day conference. Within the first clause, as somebody who's been involved with the archaeology over the last 2 years, the granting of access has not been an issue so far. We have been granted access quite freely, but there are actually 3 organizations which are very essential to the whole issue of access. In this case, of course, the municipality, and of course the government, and the third is the Jewish community. They also are a very essential part of the granting of access. Their encouragement is an essential part of that issue. And on the third one are the kind of initiatives that need to be are collective, individual, but also national. The kind of initiatives can come collectively from community and from individuals, but I also would think that national initiatives are also an integral part of these sort of memorization of the Great Synagogue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for possibility to talk. I very support Avisha position, and now beyond tell partly my position, because I think that the local people should not excluded from that, and maybe there are some possibility to create the local group with advisement committee from the international people. It's one of my suggestions. And our very small, more technical suggestion is to switch the first point with the second one. Because I think without the idea and without the commission, we cannot suggest any ideas what to do in this place. And this school can still be 1 year, maybe then they have some ideas how to step by step to prepare the commemorization of this place. So it's just technical thing, but more logical in my understanding. Thank you.
Okay, that's logical. Thank you.
Talking about commitments is one thing, and what I've known for a long time is that people have to make real commitments. We're already losing about 1/3 of our audience, so I wanted to say this now. I would like to ask each person in this room right now, before you leave, write down one commitment that you are willing to make. Put your name to it. One commitment that you're willing to make to the future of all that we have talked about, discussed, and planned today. It's enough talk about action. I want every single person to act after this conference. Thank you. Oh, and one other thing. I know guy is a general term. The person that should lead it should be a woman and not a man.
Yeah, there was a comment from the architect. Yeah.
Sorry. You offer us that in Panerai must be more attractive place. Man tai kelia siaubą. Aš nežinau, negalima duoti pinigų karuselėm. Negalima daryti atrakcijos iš tokios vietos. Aš noriu pasakyti, kad aš ten nesu buvus. Ir ir niekada nebūsiu. Bet aš buvau aptarime projektų tolerancijos centre.
The discussion of a project
Mano
in
galva,
Tolerance Center,
šitą vietą reikia
and I believe that this place
ramybei ir
should be left to rest and not to make it more attractive.
Yra 9 fortas.
Look, we have the 9th fort in Kaunas.
Aš noriu pasakyti, žiūrėkit, apie sinagogą.
We're talking just about synagogue, the great synagogue, not about Ponaroi. Okay, let's talk about synagogue.
Kad sinagoga
I already said that the great synagogue is not a building. For a synagogue, you need just a small thing, I mean, and a Torah, and that's it. It'll be a synagogue. When I walked with the old town, I couldn't understand how 158 synagogues could be in one place. So I was visiting Israel. I understood it very well then. And also threats that there would be nothing to do in the synagogue. I already told you, you have not seen the project. In the architect's suggestion, there is no synagogue there. But what's interesting is, why don't we speak about what Guchas mentioned, that in 1999 or in year 2000, we already made the reconstruction of a fragment of the ghetto, and this place was there, and the synagogue also. And most importantly, the structure was rebuilt with a small street around. And maybe we don't need a synagogue, but we need that structure so they could feel the atmosphere of the ghetto.
Na, pinigus reikia naudoti labai racionaliai.
We have to think very carefully and rationally about the financing. Of course, the synagogue would be very important, but the archaeology is the most important part here. And of course, we don't need the synagogue, but what we need is the spirit, and that's it. This is what I wanted to emphasize. It's so much important to retain the spirit. Well, it's very fearful in Panare. I will never go there. But I'm walking around the ghetto area. No problem. Thank you.
Ačiū, aš manau, kad dauguma tikrai sutiktų, kad reikia.
I believe that all of us agree to that.
I think more and more people are leaving the room, and this is, I take as a not a very positive sign. So we have to somehow finalize our meeting. It's amazing that we already have a 3-day event financed by Weizmann Institute. And am I correct to name the institution? But yeah, what we need to do is very little to create a venue for this event. So archaeologists are here. Spiritus movens are here, but I still would very much like to suggest that the Romans, the ancient Romans, were right, saying verba volent scripta manent. Words fly, but the scriptures, the writings remain. So I still think if we come up with some resolution that we can present as a finalizing points to our to my fellow parliamentarians, to our brothers and sisters in government, elsewhere, this would be a very good thing.
But on the base of this, within 12 hours, together with the comments that you heard, and with Anna, you can draft the final version.
This is possible. Would you agree that we draft a version and we distribute in electronic way, and then those who agree putting their names indicate so? So we will need a physical signatures. We will have just your names under, and this has been done many times before. When we reach the acceptable stage of the resolution, then we say, I'm okay with this text, and you can put my name under. Would this be
I think so,
a
and
solution?
I think so, and I think that in the spirit, in the practical spirit of Professor Avishai Braverman, I do believe that the International Commission should be a very small committee. It should not be a 17 people experts. It is nice, but it should be a small entity that that writes down conclusive, beautiful points, and it should be taken into account that these 3, 4, maximum 5 people will consult with all the experts in the world who are accessible to them. So we don't need all these experts to be formally part of the commission itself. Because with a 17 or 19 people commission, you have a very wonderful group of people, but also a very, very long time until any decision will be taken, if at all, and I don't know what will happen to your beard until then.
Okay, this is correct. Thank you very much. This is a very pertinent observation. I was thinking about this biblical number of 12, but we can negotiate that maybe much smaller.
Yeah. I will also say, you had a quotation you quoted something in Latin. I want to remind all of us that the word synagogue, which is the translation of Beit Knesset in Hebrew, means a place to which where people gather. This is the Greek etymology, syn, from together. So it's all about the togetherness. It's not necessarily about any religious practice. It's a place where people gather. And I think that this is also one of the messages of these wonderful 2 days. We are dealing here with a place in which people used to gather and hopefully will continue to gather differently. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think a very special and central aspect, attract the youth. Someone ironically observed that there were not so many very young people in this hall, but hopefully in future we will be joined by students, by vast discussions on Judaism, Christianity, the role of Bible in today's world, you name it. So when I had a couple of glasses of wine yesterday, I came up with many ideas for the future center, but this was strictly personal. But one aspect I think is important, to do something which will attract the youth. And pardon? Yes, I will write you emails. Yeah. Someone, yeah, there's one more observation down there.
I mean, as a person who has performed in many of the places we've seen today, I think something that could be, it's important to, when we're talking about bringing young people in, it's important also, maybe it can't be put in the, whatever they're called, the statutes, but to put money aside, to put energy aside, and to put thinking aside for activities and for cultural activities. Because this morning I heard about $77 million being put aside for reconstruction of the stones, and I can tell you that wherever I go, I have to fight to get 2,000 euros to come with 8 people to put on a cultural activity. So that should definitely, you're talking about bringing people in, and you're talking about making it a living place, but that should definitely be part of the activity. Thank you, that's it.
Completely correct, thank you.
Yeah.
I can fully agree with that.
No, because it really is the problem in all of these places. Money
Yes.
goes for stones, but money doesn't go for living. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not authorized to say thank you very much for all the participation. Probably other people are more suited to do that. But as I'm leaving the stage, I say thank you very much, and I pass this microphone to a wonderful person that really attracted us all here, which is Anna Avidan. Please, the last word.
Thank you very much. My last word, can be only thank you. Thank you for those brilliant speeches. Thank you for all of you for coming here. We planned this event a year ago and planned it as a really creative workshop. And today I'm mostly excited to see that it turned to be an international forum of brightest intellectuals and minds, and I just hope for the practical result of it. Thank you very, very much.